What's good, people? Welcome back. This is my second ever tutorial. So if you're here for the come up, definitely stay tuned. Today we're gonna be cooking up some R&B. I'm basically gonna be breaking down this loop I made, and let's get straight into it. So this is the loop right here. I'm gonna let y'all hear it. So yeah, super fire. Made this the other day, and I thought it'd be great to break this down. So for this one, I'm pretty sure I started out with this vocal sample. So I got this from Splice, but you guys can get vocal samples from Arcade, or you can use a vocal remover, take songs off YouTube and split the vocals. And I basically built the chords around the vocal. So when it comes to R&B, you can really get funky with the chords, you know what I'm saying? But it's usually 7th or 9th chords. The chord that really gives it that R&B flavor is this chord right here. So this note's inverted, but this is how the original chord is. So as you can see here, this F sharp is not in the scale. So here's how this chord sounds. See, it's kind of got like a little tension in there. And it is a diminished chord, which kind of just means that there's equal space between these three notes right here. So originally, when I lay these down, it usually looks like this, and it's, you know, every note in key or whatever, just a regular 7th chord. And then I move this one off key and make it a 7th diminished chord. And I almost always use this specific note in the scale. So we're in G minor here, and this note right here is the 4th note in the scale from G. So it's D, and this works in any scale. And this is like where I like to put this chord 90% of the time. Like I said, it works in any scale. If you pitch this up and down, it doesn't matter. Another way to know if this is the right chord is that it has a chord that's a half step above it. This D sharp right here. So if this is the root note, you go down 1, 2, 3 notes in the scale, and that's where this chord would be. And you would just make a regular 7th chord and move this note, 2nd note from the root note, up 1 semitone. And that's how you really get that R&B vibe, or that's how I like to do it at least. So yeah, like I said, I did invert it. So originally it looked like this, and then I inverted this F sharp up, and here's what we got. You know, it's cool to use chord progressions that other people have used. I mean, most songs have chord progressions that have been used. Probably every song does, really. So definitely don't be afraid to just like take this chord progression and do your own thing with it. Honestly, when it comes to R&B, I think the most important thing when it comes to chords is just using 7th notes or 7th chords. And then, you know, you could add these funky chords in too to really make it more R&B-ish, but it's not always necessary. Another thing I like to do a lot in RnB melodies is I'll do this little strummed chord thing at the end or before a chord starts. So usually it's just the last chord or whatever. I just cut it wherever. You can cut it here or here, and then pitch it up an octave like that. And I would just shift mouse wheel to strum the notes, and you get something like sounds like this. So yeah, super cool. It's just a little ear candy that you can add in. You might have noticed this piano sounds a little weird, or it sounds like it's processed, so I'm gonna show you how I did that. The way I got the piano to sound like this is I pitch it up an octave. So originally it was down here, and I'd pitch it up an octave, route it to a mixer track, and I'd put sound shifter on there and pitch it down 12 semitones. If you don't have sound shifter, you could just bounce it to audio and pitch it down 12 semitones. So here's how it sounds without that. So it just sounds like a regular piano, you know, but you add the sound shifter and it makes it sound like way more wavy. So I also I routed it to this bus right here, and I just put a reverb, Valhalla, my go-to, and a fruity delay on it. Just a regular 4-step delay. Just turn the volume down and put on ping pong. And then for Valhalla, I really just put the default preset and just turn this knob down. I also added this effect rack crystal choir preset, which is in the it's in the guitar section, crystal choir, and I just turned it down to about 25%. And I added an EQ just to take out some low end, because when you put on that sound shifter, you pitch it down, it makes it kind of muddy in the low end. So definitely do that if you are gonna pitch it down. So after that, I layered this piano with the same exact preset, except there's no sound shifter on it. So here's how that sounds by itself. So that's just there for some variation, and I layered them together just to give it a more fuller kind of piano sound. So here's how they sound layered together. Next thing I added after that was this synth bass. I believe I got this from a one-shot kit, but you guys can use any synth bass you got. So here's how that sounds. And that's completely dry with no effects. I just left it that way. This next thing I added was this percussion loop that I made. Did a bunch of different effects to this. First thing I added was Pancake 2. I believe this is a free plugin, and it just makes it bounce from side to side. Next thing I added was a gross beat sidechain preset. It's in the repeater section. And I like to add this to a lot of different things. It gives it a lot of bounce, so that's some sauce if y'all want to put that. You could put that on your synth basses, or like pad layers, or drum loops like this one. Next thing I added was a flanger. I didn't change anything, I just added the flanger and left it the way it is. And then I added another gross beat preset, that the fade in preset, just to make it fade in. After that, I added this tom-tom pattern. When it comes to like these tom-toms, you want to make sure they're in key with the melody. So here's how the pattern sounds. So it sounds kind of funny without the context of the melody, but I promise it sounds good with everything together. The way I usually do these kind of tom-tom patterns is I do like a kick and snare kind of pattern. So these bottom notes are kind of like kicks. This note is like the regular snare that you put on every third beat, and then these notes are like counter snares. So that's usually how I do that. I also added a pancake to make it pan, just the default preset. Next thing I added was this chime. I didn't add much to that besides a flanger, and I routed it to the reverb and delay bus. And then I also added this transition. So when it comes to the vocal samples, you know, the main thing you want to keep in mind is picking a good vocal sample that goes with the vibe. And then the other thing is, of course, making sure it's in key and on beat. And Splice makes that pretty easy. And then of course you got to add effects to it. So I routed it to the reverb and delay bus, and then all I added really to it was some EQs. So this EQ right here is just the radio preset, and I just turned this down. And then this was an automated EQ. So this EQ, this secondary EQ here, I just used for some variation by automating it. So I automated this knob here by right clicking, create an automation clip. And what I did was, for the intro part, I had it with no EQ. The mix level was off basically. When the other sounds come in, I kind of wanted it to go more into the background, so I turned the mix knob up on this side. That's just to create some space for the other sounds. Also, for the vocal, I almost forgot, on this side right here, I just pitched it down an octave for some more variation. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this breakdown. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you like this up, comment, let me know what you want to see next, and subscribe if you want to stay updated when I post new tutorials and kits and other things. If you want to download this loop to flip for yourself, I'm going to leave a link in the description, and I'm also going to leave a link to 10 free loops from my new loop kit, basically the free version of my newest loop kit. 10 completely free loops. But yeah, anyway, like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I'm gonna see y'all next time.